Primetime news, newspapers and conversations over chai. Criticism over the hike in school fees is part of our everyday discourse. Very often, people demand fee regulation as a way to combat the seemingly unreasonable hike in fees. But is fee regulation really the best way forward? Most of these policies seem to have evolved as knee-jerk reactions to the demands and demonstrations of parents, without much thought into the practical needs and constraints of the education sector in India. So in this episode of So Basically, let's look into the root cause of this frequent and arbitrary hike in school fees. Now, a major reason for this exponential rise in private school fees is that the supply of these private schools does not meet the high demand. There are about 350,000 private unaided schools in India, where about 75 million school students study. On top of this, hundreds of thousands of students join these private schools every year, but the number of new schools opening up isn't growing at the same pace.
If the government has not done the job properly, why do you actually penalize the people who are filling the gap?
You're
What's
willing
wrong
to pay.
in that? Yeah.
You'll pay.
And you
don't mind fees being hiked and you'll pay for your...
If I see the quality, and even if you see even lower middle class people actually take out the kids from government schools and put them in, and they beg, borrow, scrape, because education is seen as a passport to out of poverty.
Add to this, requirements of the RT Act makes starting a school a very tough and expensive process. Remember, private schools are already burdened with a lot of regulatory costs, which makes running a school challenging. To top it all off, the education sector in India is strictly not for profit, which means there is no monetary incentive for educational entrepreneurs or edupreneurs. After all, one needs money to both start a school and to keep the school running. If there is no guarantee that you will make at least enough money to keep the school running, it is simply too risky to start one in the first place.
Cannot address the issue of scale without the issue of the private sector entering with some reasonable profit which is going into it. Setting up a school in Delhi, NCR, let's say it takes you about 200 crores to set it up. Now, who would set that up if there isn't some sort of return on investment over a period of time?
Now, the media shows all private schools as these big, elite, expensive institutions that overcharge parents. But the facts really don't add up. Up to 80% of private schools charge low fees and cater to the economically weaker sections of society while bearing all these regulatory costs. So in reality, complaints against these unreasonably high fees is only relevant to a small portion of private schools, but these cost-heavy regulations and policies apply to all. Relaxing the regulations and taxes imposed on these private schools will ease the process of opening new schools and also bring innovation to the sector. Why? Because then these schools will have to outperform each other and also bring down costs to attract new students. So basically, the issue of high school fees is a product of low market competition mixed with expensive regulations. Instead of bringing in more regulations, we need to ease regulatory barriers to ensure quality education at affordable prices. To know more about this video, click on the link below and as always, like, share and subscribe. ठीक है?